Hi there, this is Jack Marshall here, and I'm one of the teachers at the London Contemporary School of Piano. And on this video, I'd like to talk to you about outros, how to finish a tune. So this is actually a follow-up on my last video, which was on piano intros, which is available now to watch. But on this video, I'm going to give you 3 different ways in which you can end a tune. And I'm hoping that if you're ever wondering how to finish the song you're on, then you can use one of these 3 to help you out. As always, if you're enjoying this video and finding it useful, please feel free to check out the rest of our channel, as well as our website at contemporaryschoolofpiano.com. There's a lot of different things on there, including some materials which you might find useful. Alright, let's get started with it. So for the first outro idea, we're going to be using the 1625 turnaround. This is actually something I spoke about in the intros video. So if you've seen that one, then you might find this quite handy. And we're going to be using this on the Fly Me to the Moon tune. And I'm going to show you how to use it. So as I said before, we're not actually going to go into how to play these tunes. We're just going to go into how to finish them. So if we take the last few bars of Fly Me to the Moon, it goes like this. As you see, it just ends there on that C. So it just comes to a dead stop there at the end, which, in case you were wondering, you probably wouldn't do if you're ever performing this. These lead sheets, it's worth bearing in mind, are more of a guideline of what you will be playing, and it's implied that you will be putting your own spin on it when you're working through it. So you can, of course, put all sorts of different chord shapes to these, but the premise is it's a 1625, and we're in the key of C here. So the notes you're hitting is C, A, D, and G. The A's and the D's, the 6s and the 2s, they're something that you can alter between major and minor chords, but I'm going to make the A a major and the 2 chord, the D, a minor for this example. So here's how you play them in a simple way. So I'm going to start with a C chord in my right hand, where it is just a simple major triad that's been inverted. So the C's on top, and in my left hand, I'm going to hit the bass note. Now we need to find a place to move to the 6, and as we said in the intros video, I'm going to do this in an economic way. I'm literally just going to move my little finger up to this. You see? Because now what we've got a root here, a third, a fifth, and a root again. And then when we move up to here, A's been moved into the left hand, and now we have a fifth here, a dominant seventh there, and a major third there. See, nice and easy. And now if we move to the 2 chord, I'm going to move this again, just very simple, economic movements. D in the bass, the third, the fifth, and the root again in the right hand. And then when moving to the 5, all I've done here is I've moved my second finger to my third, and it's a F, a B, and a D, or in numbers that's a root, 7th, 3rd, and 5th, right? And I'm just going to loop that for a moment just to get used to this movement, and I would recommend you doing the same. So we start from here, raise the finger up, land on the 2 chord, and then the 5. And what you want to do is you want to get your hands used to these shapes. A lot of this is the movement of it. Because often when you get the starting shape right, say you were doing this in another key, your hands move in a very similar way every time. So this is a muscle memory deal. And you can make it a little bit more interesting. You can have the right hand, play a certain amount of times and your left hand holding the bass notes. You can make a bit of an exercise out of it, but that's the shape. That's the premise of the shape. So moving into it, where you put into the context of playing this tune. And whereas now we'd normally just land on the C, I am going to land on the C, but I'm going to bring in A straight away. slow it down, and something nice to finish off with, a nice 6/9 chord there. So that's just one outro in which you can use. And again, I would put this in a few different keys. It depends on the song you're playing in, of course. If you're in F, you find it in the same way. You play the first chord as a major triad, and you put the root note in, and you'll find that the hands feel very similar regardless of the key you're in. When you're moving from F, you go to the D. Same thing, look, you raise that top note up, you see? And then for the 2 chord, you play a minor triad, which being inverted, and then same deal, you move your second finger to the 3rd for the 5th chord. So it's about ingraining that muscle memory to this stuff, and you'll probably find that you can do this in a lot of keys if you can get the starting shape right. So that's the first outro covered. Moving on to the second one. This is actually one that's written in specifically for Take the A-Train, something that you often find in a lot of jam sessions that gets thrown out. So I'm going to just play the last few bars of A-Train for you. That thing. So it's that outro there, right? You do hear this a lot, so it's worth knowing how to do it. And it's actually quite straightforward. So here's how you do it. Whatever key you're in, you're going to be, say, starting on the root of it. So we're in C again in this example. And the first thing you're going to want to do, I'll just do this in one hand for now, but the first thing you're going to want to do is wherever your root note is, I would maybe hit this with your 5th finger and then drop then down to the 3rd with your thumb. So that's the first part. Then the next part of this, you're going to want to basically climb chromatically up to the 5th note. Right, and again. And then from here, if you're in the key of C, you finish the notes off in the scale of C major. So that's all white notes in this case. Yeah, so just all together. It's good to do this with 2 hands. It's often played with 2 hands. So if we did it together. And you notice the first note is sort of skipped off of a bit quicker. The rhythm of this is that ba bam bam. See, that's very short-lived, that C. And then usually end with some kind of interesting dominant chord to finish it off with. So yeah, take the A-train. It's a simple C7 chord at the end there. You could use this for the end of Fly Me to the Moon, of course. You see, it does work. You don't often hear that one on this particular tune, but you can make it work. So again, put this in a few different places. It's good to know this in a few different keys. So if I'm in F major, we start on the root, we head down to the 3rd, the major 3rd, chromatically walk to the 5th, and then we finish off the notes of the scale. Yeah, 2 hands. It's really good to know this one just in case you're playing a tune, and especially if you're in a jam session. If you hear the band do this, it's good to know how to do this quickly. So that's the second outro covered. Moving on to the last one now, and this is indeed one of my favorite ways to finish a song, and I think it's a very beautiful sound, and I think you will as well. And I'm just going to show you how it sounds first, and then we'll break down what's going on. But basically, I'm going to the sharp 4 rather than the root note at the end. So let's hear how it sounds first of all. Lovely sound, right? That. I'm going to show you what's going on here. So what we're doing, instead of moving to the root note, which is the C, we're replacing that. Now we are actually hitting the C at the top in our right hand here. But here's how you find it. You go to the sharp 4 in your left hand first. So that's F sharp. You play a 7th from there, which is the E. We have C on top, and then from here we're going to go down 3 semitones. So this sort of like minor third movement. And when we land on this correctly, all the work has been done, right? This is sort of like an F sharp, half diminished sort of sound. And we're going to be moving down chromatically. Every note will be moving down chromatically except for the root. And this is how it sounds. So very slowly. Now once you get here, you can apply this 2-5-1 thing that we did earlier. Like that. What I did at the first go of doing this, I think I moved down even another semitone, so I went to D flat instead. And kept this sort of motif of working down these keys. So one more time, so you go to the sharp 4 on your left hand, make it the 7th, so that's an E natural. Little finger on the root note of the whole key you're in, which is C. 3 semitones down from there, with a minor third down. And here we go. We're going to move from here. All chromatically. You can break up these notes a little bit when you're playing these. Just give it some interesting sounds. To the 5. To the 1. So yeah, and that's like one of my favorite ways to finish a song that's ending on, again, the root note. And also, really good idea, put this through a few different places, right? You're in a key of F major. And I'm about to finish the song, say we're doing a 2-5-1 in F, so that's G minor to the C, and then instead of landing on the 1 to finish, you know, we have... You see, and all I did, root note, sharp 4, make it a 7th, down 3 semitones, and then chromatically walk. The sharp 1 there, and then you finish in, right? It's a beautiful way to finish these tunes. So that's 3 different outros there that you can use, and I would really encourage you to try these out in different songs that you're working on. Often you can layer these up a little bit as well, so you don't have to just pick one or the other. You can use both, or all well, maybe all 3 might be a bit much, but you should try and get used to doing it. So if I was, say, playing Fly Me to the Moon, and I wanted to finish, and I wanted to do a turnaround, like we did at the first example of this outro. So we did a 1-6-2-5 a bunch of times, and then just as I'm finishing off that 1-6-2-5 turnaround, I'll go and do the Take the A-Train sort of outro. And, you know, it'll work. So this is layering 2 different outros on top of each other. So if I was to try that... Do this a few times. And on this one. You know? And again, so it's just experimenting a little bit, and there are of course many other ways in which you can end songs, but this is a solid 3, I think, that'll be good to get you going, at least to start with. So there we are. 3 handy ways in which you can finish your tune. Like I said, it would be really good to put these through a few different keys, not just because it's a good thing to do, but because it's also quite handy if you're ever playing a song in a certain key and you're just ready to throw these out if you need to. Also, if you're interested in some jazz piano coaching from either myself or one of our team, head on over to our website at contemporaryschoolofpiano.com. Mention this video and we'll send you a little extra resource pack. As always, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this. I hope you found it useful. Do let me know if you do. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you.